Did WWE just put the final nail in Kayfabe's coffin? It was unreal. Unbelievable. We'll find out in just a minute.
I am in misery. Everyone is watching me when I'm coming around. They all are judging me when I'm lying on the ground. I've got no shelter, I've got no escape. My life is a prison and I can't run away. I feel it in my bones, I'm losing it all. Stuck in my head, I am in misery. Deep inside myself, all I get, my only family. Stuck in the grave, can someone rescue me? I'm burning alive, I got it, I am in misery.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This isn't taking over, but it is myself and Astrid Bizarro, the natural. So I figured we'd play the taking over video just for the fun of it, because we do love to jam out to that music. But we're not here to talk about NXT for once, because there's really nothing NXT related to talk about with what we're talking about, which is WWE Unreal. 5-part documentary series just released to Netflix over the past 48 hours. Astrid, overall thoughts on the entire thing now that we've both watched it, and then we'll break down episode by episode for the first 3 episodes. We'll be back later this week or next week with episodes 4 and 5. But what did you think of the first 3?
I mean, I really like that. I like kind of knowing the kind of behind the scenes stuff like that we got from this docu-series, and knowing more about the real people behind it, not just like the character and the wrestler, but like the people behind all this. I feel like it shows them kind of like how normal they are, how they feel more like. I feel like I can connect a little bit more with them when I hear about them, and how personal they get about their lives and their situations and their highs and lows and how they feel when they're working. So it's pretty interesting seeing this part of it. What about you?
I like a lot of this. I'm like Seth Rollins when he talked about this on the Dan Patrick show when he guest hosted. I love being able to see all of this because this is stuff that I've wanted to see my entire life. I also don't want to know how the sausage is made, so I don't want to see this at the same time. And that's the best terminology I can use for this, especially with. They went very in-depth with the things they wanted to go in-depth with. There are some things here that we'll talk about over the next two shows that we do about this. About certain things that they didn't touch with a 10-foot pole. And again, I know it's not episode 1 through 3, but the thing that glaringly looks out at me is... At one point, Triple H is talking about the women's triple threat. And he says, and I quote, at some point, a decision was made to take the title off of Rhea. And they play 1 month ago, and they play the clip. And I'm like, oh, so we're not going to talk about why Rhea just randomly lost the title on a Monday night on the road to WrestleMania? We're not going to get more than 2 lines about what the fuck that was? Because we talked all about fucking a lot of things that didn't need 20 minutes worth of talking about. Like me watching, no offense to Bianca Belair, I did not need to see 5 to 10 minutes of Bianca Belair trying to put her gear together. I didn't need it. If we wanted that, guess what we'll watch? For Love and Wrestling. For Love and WWE. Which
All the
aired...
social media.
But yeah, that too. But like, if we wanted the docu-series on Bianca Belair and her putting her gear together, watch that show. By the way, I did and loved it, and I loved watching her put her gear together during the show that was about her life and her putting her gear together and her life with Montez. I didn't need to see it here. loved a lot of this. I could have done with a little less Bruce Pritchard. Okay, I'll rephrase that. I could have done with a lot of less Bruce Pritchard.
I was about to say the same thing.
I think all of WWE could do with a little less Bruce Pritchard. I could do with a little bit more Michael P.S. Hayes, to be honest with you. I was very excited.
More Abyss, please.
More Michael, less Bruce.
Yes.
Because Michael's as problematic as Bruce is, but at least Michael's entertaining while he does it. Like, me trying to explain to my mother when, and again, I know this isn't episode 1, 2, and 3, but when Michael is explaining what a heel turn is and explaining his own career, like, I had to stop the episode because my mother's like, who is this guy talking? And I'm like, all right. So to break this down, and I'm breaking down how Michael P.S. Hayes used to have police lead him to and from the ring in Texas because when he was shooting with the Von Erichs, people would try to stab him because he was that good of a heel. Like, people were trying to stab him and the other Freebirds because of how big of heels they were. Like, that's heel heat. That's good shit. And that's Michael P.S. Hayes. And I want more of him because he was so fun. And again, this we'll go real deep into Michael on the episode we do about because he almost doesn't exist in episode 1, 2, and 3. They mentioned him once when they're like, here are the producers. Abyss, Bobby Roode, Michael Hayes. Okay, moving on.
Mm-hmm.
Let's focus on Bobby Roode and Chris Park. No, I love this. I thought this is a really well done version of this. It was made for a Netflix WWE audience.
Mm-hmm.
It's made for the hardcore too, but I think the hardcore knew 70% of what we're talking about here.
No.
But they did a really good job of, if you're a Netflix WWE person and you're like, oh, I like that WWE thing. Oh, WWE Unreal, let me put this on.
Mm-hmm.
They did a really good job of getting you into it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go ahead and start with episode 1. It's a new era. It's a new day. Yes, it is. It's the Netflix era. I love this. This entire thing focuses on the road to the Netflix premiere. I also want to say I love how all of the episodes had a distinct focus.
Yes.
Episode 1 is the Netflix premiere. Episode 2 is the men's road to the Royal Rumble, and the men's Royal Rumble, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
They call it Push, but essentially it's the story of Jey Uso and everybody going through the Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
Then on episode 3, we get the entirety of the story of the women from the creation of the women's U.S. title, well, slightly before that with Survivor Series, all the way up into Elimination Chamber.
Mm-hmm.
I loved the breakdown of we kept the things we needed to keep in the places we needed to keep them. It told a really tight story in those hour-long episodes, mostly.
Yeah, pretty much.
We get Triple H's intro where he gives all the things that people call him and the name that people don't call him, which is Paul Levesque. He's like, my name's Paul Levesque, but nobody calls me that. So, you can call me Triple H, or some people call me H or Trips. And I'm like, they call you everything except HH because, fuck that guy. You add another H and he's great. Take one H away, not so great. Take another H away, he's great again. No, I love this. Then we get Cody doing the same. And, all right, is it just me in having a daughter, but watching Cody explain what his daughter thinks he does for a living is the sweetest fucking thing in the world?
I saw somebody made an edit of him with a tutu and everything because Liberty thinks he's dancing, and I was like, I couldn't deal with that. It made me laugh so much. But I like the fact that she compared it to dancing because it made me think back of something that we mentioned on WCW before, which was the line of like, this ain't ballet, but at the same time, somebody like Liberty, who's a tiny young kid, sees it as dancing. because it's choreographed in such a way that makes you think it's like a dance routine. And I get where she's coming from. And at the same time, that's what makes you think of like ballet is just as difficult as this is, because you have to do that routine as well. It's something that they don't think about. But I like also that aspect that they also show us about the directions they get from the truck, of like, make sure you focus on this person, make sure you look at this angle, because they really don't want us to miss the important aspects of it. And I feel like it reminded me a lot of AJ Styles beating at the Rumble, how they missed that entrance, for example, and they focused on Roman. Those sort of things that they say, okay, I want to see this, I want to see that, and focus on this person. And I like seeing that kind of thing of like the direction, and not only that, but the part of like, and like you said, they also explain it very well for the people that don't watch WWE on a regular basis, that these are the producers. They come up with the plan for the match. They're the ones that cut the time if anything needs to be cut. They talk to the referees, which is something that I always wonder what communication the referees get. And I like the fact that they're able to show us that part of it. It's like, hey, check on this person. Is he okay? Like that sort of thing. And I feel like I learned a lot of that aspect of it during these 3 episodes so far.
Yeah, we'll get to some of that more in a minute. We do. Yeah, Bobby's right to agree. It's like dancing, especially with the basics, because especially with different ring sizes. Every independent has a different size ring. Every wrestling company has a different size ring. WWE's ring is slightly bigger than the AEW ring, if I remember correctly. I think the AEW ring isn't the same full size WWE. And then you got AAA, which still uses the 6-sided ring, even though TNA's done away with it. But you've heard people like AJ Styles in Dinner for Three talk about how awful the ropes were on the 6-sided ring, because they're so much tighter, because there's so many more connection points for the ropes. This episode focuses very heavily on CM Punk and on Rhea Ripley. Episode 1 focuses primarily on the two of them, because again, we're building to the Netflix premiere. The 2 big matches on the Netflix premiere are Liv versus Rhea for the Women's World Championship, and then we're main eventing that show with Seth versus Punk. Most of this first episode deals with Rhea in the beginning, and then the Punk stuff all comes mostly later on. Ropes in WWE are actually rope. Most others use steel wire wrapped with electrical tape. Yep, that is also that. In episode 5, we see Punk testing the ropes on WrestleMania Day and going, "Oh, the ropes are loose today." Which I thought was an interesting take from him. He had a lot of interesting things in episode 5. We'll get to that when we get there. Rhea goes over the injury that she had to Liv when Liv threw the chair at her and then pushed her into the wall. What did you think of seeing Demi Bennett Demity Bennett, as she introduced herself? Her house. Because this was some stuff I didn't know. I did not know she was into taxidermy. I did not know she has a 2-headed duck on her desk in her office.
Yes. I know she has a lot of, was it oddities? Is that what you call them? So I know
that's what she called it in episode 5, yeah.
I haven't gone to episode 5. I'm on 4 so far. But yeah, I know I haven't seen all the pictures of that, but I knew that she's into like kind of oddities in her office, and seeing her office there too. I like her talking about the injury part of it, because it's one of those injuries that it just felt like it's such a weird freak accident sort of thing. And the way she talks about how she avoided surgery, and she shows us how her arm still looks and it's not attached right now. And if she were to get the surgery done, she would have to take at least 6 months off. And the way that when everything happened, she kept apologizing to Triple H, and he's like, "It's okay, we'll work around it. We'll make we'll do something about it." And the way she apologized, over and over again, and he said, "Don't worry about it. It's one of those things that we're in a competitive and physical sport, so it's not always going to be like you coming at 100%. But we'll work on making changes due to this." But I like knowing the part of like Demi and how different Demi is from Rhea. And this is not the first time we hear about her having, for example, her anxiety is one of those things that she says how she gets so anxious before her entrance. And it's something that really came up a lot. And I learned about it more before her match with Becky at WrestleMania. She said she had a panic attack before she even came out. But when she came out, she heard her music. It was like, Demi's gone and Rhea's here. And I had to, be at that moment. And it changes the perspective to show you how different she is from her character here, and how she's I won't say shy, but she has more like more reserved in that aspect of it, in that anxiety part of her, versus Rhea as a character that is nothing like that whatsoever. And I like knowing that they're either a reflection or an extension of them in that sort of aspect with their characters.
Yeah, I thought Rhea came off. There's some people who come off really well in this documentary. Punk comes off looking like a star in this. Rhea comes off looking like a star in this. Chelsea Green comes off looking like a star in this. We'll get to Charlotte, and we'll get to Triple H, because I think they do a really good job trying to make Triple H look like everybody loves him, and that everybody loves his decisions, and how much he loves everybody. Like, every time somebody comes back behind the curtain, he's grabbing them, he's hugging them real tight, he's holding them, and he's talking right in their ear because it's a noisy environment. We still got all the music and stuff going on from the show. Because we see that next, where we talk, where they go to the 6 months off, and she's talking about getting there, and you see her and Triple H talking, like you mentioned, and it's just like he takes all these kids in, and like he understands and he loves them, and it's like I don't know if I buy this. But no, I think Rhea really comes off in an amazing way. And you can tell WWE understands that the next 10 years of this business are Rhea Ripley's.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, The Rock at one point before, I don't remember if it was before the Chamber, but before one of the pay-per-views, he hugs her and he said, "Thank you for carrying the company. Thank you for what you do." He said at one point to her, and I was like, I love seeing stuff like that, because you do have to think about it this way. WWE does have a legacy, but it's also a legacy that's built on the people that are there at that moment. And Rhea's one of those people that are so popular. And I think either Stephanie or Triple H also talk about it, how she's one of the most over people, like not just women, but like over in general in the company right now. But going over about Triple H and like the relationships, one that I liked that was addressed to was the relationship between him and Punk and how it changed over the years. And I really like seeing that aspect of it, because Punk mentions it's like, yeah, when I was here before, Triple H was also a wrestler at the moment, like a full-time wrestler. So we're almost like competitors fighting over for that, for the spots that we get on TV. But he's like, now he's basically somebody in the office. He has more of that corporate job. And thinking about it this way, I don't have to see him the same way as I used to see him, and that changed their relationship as well. Because like we're no longer competitors; we're almost like kind of like collaborating with each other here, and that's when he talks about coming back, and that's one of the reasons why he decided to come back, because of the change in attitude, how the relationship is different from how it was before. I did like the aspect. I think it was Hayes that said it, that about the pipe bomb, for example, is like the pipe bomb was Phil Brooks talking through CM Punk. And I like seeing those little tidbits here and there about Punk and his return, and how they kept it under wraps for as long as they did, with very little people knowing about it up until when it happened. And I like the fact that he's able to say, like, look, our relationship is different now. Him and Triple H are different. He's like, thank you, because if I wouldn't be able to do this without you, sort of thing. And the way they talk to each other is a lot better than what it used to be, and I like that aspect of it. And it's just nice to see that difference between them, and how one thing changed, being Triple H's job, being from a wrestler to more of a corporate job, and it changed so much between them.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that Triple H talks about in that same, because they kind of going back and forth between the two of them as they're talking about Punk and his return and how it took him 10 years to heal. Triple H says specifically, the person that Punk was then, he was destructive, he was about himself, he was arrogant, he was a bit too cocky for my life. Which is funny considering that's coming from Triple H. Yada. And then he says, there was a time in that 10-year period where we talked again. And he was always the conduit between WWE and Punk, because Vince wouldn't or couldn't talk to Punk. And I don't think Punk wanted to talk to him either. So Triple H it sounds like he was that middleman who, if they were to make a chat with Punk, it would be Triple H. And Triple H says, I talked to him at 2 days with the Dream Team. It is indeed. It might be 3 if I can convince Asher to do things the way I want them to.
Maybe.
But no, he says that he talked to Punk years later, and he realized that Punk was still that person. He was still hurt. He was still getting over it. He's like, no, he's not changed yet. He's still that same person that I saw before.
Mm-hmm.
And it's those conversations. He says it's the conversations that we had over Thanksgiving. He's like, it was that phone call where I realized he changed. He realized I changed. And we could finally, I mean, we might take over Thursdays. We might be taking over the whole damn week from Ring Respect Radio, from everybody. Just take it all over. We're taking over our local establishment. Damn it, Bobby. No, I thought it was really great to see this relationship. There's a scene we'll talk about on the next episode when we do our next episode of this. That I think something was manufactured. I know Fightful put out some things that people talked about that might have been manufactured. There's one moment in particular that didn't get brought up that I think, after having seen it, might have been slightly manufactured. Me and Ash will talk about it later, and we'll talk about it here on air next time. We then, like you say, we get into the Seth Rollins CM Punk as we're starting to build towards Punk and Rollins, and we're building towards the not the debut yet. We're building to the press conference for the debut. Mm-hmm. And Rollins tells a story about Seth being entitled as a youngster, trying to get training from CM Punk for free. He talks to CM Punk about. CM Punk talks about Seth Rollins, and he's like, I see a lot of me in him, and not just a particular, not just me in general, but 2013 me, which is that very chip on my shoulder. I'm the king of this fucking castle. If you're not on my side, get the fuck out ride. CM Punk that cut the pipe bomb. This is CM Punk before he leaves, before he signs that deal, before he gets fired. Like, this is 2013 CM Punk. This is just after the Summer of Punk, if I remember correctly. The Summer of Punk, I believe, is 2011, isn't it?
I believe so.
Because it's Money in the Bank 2011 is him versus Cena. Then he leaves, and then the Summer of Punk is later on that summer. Mm-hmm. We get into them building gorilla position, which was really fun and interesting to see. Mm-hmm. And also broke my heart a lot because they're building gorilla position over this superimposed shots of Gorilla Monsoon, which made Ed, who watched Gorilla Monsoon's heart like weep a little. Because it's so cool, because it's so interesting that they can do that, where on this like clear plastic floor, they're able to put something that wasn't there, and it's superimposed just for the show. As Triple H is explaining who Gorilla Monsoon, I believe it was Triple H explaining who Gorilla Monsoon was and why gorilla position is so important to the business. I believe that it's Bruce Pritchard who explains the people who are in gorilla position and who sits where. And we have Bruce Pritchard sitting next to Triple H, and they run the show. And then next to them, you have producing timekeeper Billy Kidman, who's keeping a run of the entire show's production. So he's going through every segment, every match with a stopwatch to make sure that commercial breaks on Netflix are going on when they're supposed to, that the matches are running at the right time, that the segments aren't going over. He's doing everything. And then we get to sitting next to him are the match producer or producers in certain cases. And the ones we meet tonight are Abyss Chris Park, Bobby Roode, the Glorious One, and then Michael P.S. Hayes. In later episodes, we will also see Petey Williams. We will also see T.J. Wilson. We will also see Jason Jordan as other producers. And yeah, there's 15 to 20 other producers from time to time. They have people who come in who just do a single show, who do producing. They have, I know Chris Sabin at one point, I believe, did producing for WWE for a couple of months when he wasn't wrestling for WWE. They bring in superstars all the time to do production work for some of these. They talk about Michael P.S. Hayes being the longest tenured producer because he's an insta-fuckatution in that company. The day Michael Hayes leaves that company will be a sad day for a lot of us. Again, problems aside. They talk about executive producer Bruce Pritchard, who's just executive asshole. He is what he is. And then, like Asher said, this is where we get the breakdown of what the producers do between the match producers, between Triple H, and between Bruce Pritchard. What all three of them are doing on all the time during the shows. We get Ref Daphne. I don't remember her last name, but I know it's Ref Daphne.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And she's
talking. Something like
I'm almost certain it is, but I didn't want to go out there and guess. So I'm like, I know it's Ref Daphne. I can be right on that. And she talks about how, she might have 5 voices in her head at any given time. Between producers telling her what to tell the wrestlers about what they need to keep, what they need to cut, any direction that she's getting from Triple H or Bruce about checking on a particular talent or making sure to give them instruction like Jacob Fatu, don't push fans until Triple H and Bruce realize that it's a planted fan and it's okay and it's what they wanted to have happen. Which was a great moment because you have this moment where you see Bruce, he's like, fuck, don't push a fan. Mm-hmm. By the way, I've never heard more sailor mouth people in the wrestling business than watching all of these WWE people swearing up and down.
I wish I had that count.
I'm going to count when I go back and watch this again. So on my phone, I have a Bob counter for the 3rd time that I saw Thunderbolts of every time they said Bob, Bobby, and Robert. And I have a breakdown of each individual number. And then I have a collective total. And by the way, that number is higher than you think. But yeah, no, these people swear up and down like they make me feel better about my language because I'm like, ooh, I'm not that bad. So yeah, that was good. Yeah. We then get to the Netflix premiere itself. Rock is heavily featured in this one, which I thought was nice. Rock talking to Punk, which is Rock talking, swearing and Rock. I get that it's common. I just kind of thought that they would have toned it down, knowing that they had cameras here doing this. By the way, how much did they know? Because Fightful Select, if you don't subscribe, don't bother. But put out a story here that a lot of the talent didn't know why the cameras were there and what they were being featured on. And I'm like, that's interesting. But I get their point. Like, there's so many cameras backstage for WWE production, whether it be a documentary on a certain superstar, whether it just be social media videos, whether it be like archive footage that they're going to use 10 years from now for documentaries. Like, they're getting all the footage they can of everything. So it makes sense. We get Rhea Ripley, the best thing. Like, The Rock is everywhere. He's talking to Rhea Ripley. He's talking to CM Punk. He's talking to The Undertaker. He talks to Triple H. He talks to Rhea Ripley at one point. But I want to focus on this part, on this segment. I want Ashley to focus, like you already mentioned it a little bit, but talk to me about Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest and the calming force that Damian Priest is for Rhea Ripley as she's just rattling off spots in her match.
I just look at her mindset because I have such a terrible memory, and I like the fact that she's calling the moves out just so that like she can remember what's going on, and that's her way of trying to remembering it. And she's like going back to Damian's like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, and he's like, less is more, calm down, like take it easy, you'll be fine. It's like, do this and do that and let the crowd kind of take the moment and sink in. And he gives her so many tips here and there where he's just there like listening to her rant of everything she's saying. But I love their relationship so much, that brother sister relationship they have, because he's one of the very few people that's able to calm her down. And it's what I say also about her anxiety, because you can see how this is another thing with the anxiety of like naming things out loud and making certain things to like make sure you remember this and you don't get too much in your head about stuff like that. So I get her standpoint on it. But I like the fact that he's one of the very few people that's able to calm her down and put her in that mindset of like, you're fine, everything's gonna end up being okay. And I get that, because I'm the same way. I only have a certain number of people that can actually calm me down when I'm in those moments. And if I'm anxious and I'm with somebody that doesn't calm me down, that will make it worse somehow. So you know who the people who you're dealing with when you're in those situations. And I'm glad that he's there for her to do this.
Yeah. We also get in here Rhea talking about the whole thing with Liv. And she drops an interesting piece of knowledge that I didn't know. Rhea and Dom weren't a romantic relationship. And that's like, I know they weren't romantically involved in real life, obviously. But I thought the on-screen thing was like a version of romance at some points. Like, I know she says it started, and she never really clarifies whether it changed or not. But like, I feel like there was a point where that definitely changed. Where, you know, like, I feel like, and she says, especially with the WrestleMania moment, she's like, Liv stole, and her exact words are, a family member. She didn't say my boyfriend. She didn't say my Dominic. She said a family member. I'm like, oh, so she and he didn't see it the same way everybody else in the fucking world saw it, which is intriguing. We see Cena talking about retirement, about how sore he is. I believe this is also where we see some of John Cena doing the Make-A-Wish, or is that in episode 2 when he's getting ready for the Rumble?
I think it's when he's getting ready, most likely for the Rumble. But yeah, it happens at one point.
You know, and then we get Rhea Damian. I love The Rock just being like, look, I'm not trying to, you know, I know you're getting ready for your match. I just want to tell you that you're killing it, and I'm proud of you, and thank you for all the things that you're doing. Well, that's nice. Good for you. You know, like, and then we see the weirdest fucking. Like, then they go through the match and they show us all the highlights of the match. And it's really interesting seeing them call the shots for the match and focus on this and get ready for this and everything else with that. And then we get to going to the next match for the Netflix premiere. And CM Punk getting ready for his match. And he's hanging out with his European friends. Those are his exact words. My honest European friends who will tell me exactly how good or bad this match is. And they laugh. And Kaiser has this like plastered on fucking smile, like the whole time, like he doesn't talk to Punk on a regular basis. Like, I see Punk and Gunther. Like, I get that. Punk treats this business like Gunther does. The mat is sacred. What happens in the wrestling ring is important. I also like that this is the only time we see Gunther at all, other than the Jey Uso match at WrestleMania. This is the only time we see Gunther the entirety of this documentary series. Because I guarantee you they went up to him and talked to him about this. He's like, fuck you, I'm not doing it. Like, I guarantee you. Yeah, there's a lot of people triggered about it. And I get it. Like, again, we talked about this at the top of the show. Like, I get it. There's a lot of people who grew up on kayfabe. There's a lot of people who grew up knowing that this isn't what you do. And you don't talk about this. But, you know, it is what it is. And it's a different era. Like Triple H said, it's time to peel the curtain back. And again, with things like Fightful, with PW Insider, with Body Slam, with shows like Spoiler Warning with Tom Colliehue, we're all talking about this on the internet most of the time anyways. So it's not a huge imposition to go ahead and have a show where WWE tells you everything the way it is. You know, it is what it is, and I don't love it. But, yeah, it's just... something. And then we get the CM Punk Seth Rollins match, which was fantastic. Like in between this, I went back and rewatched this match from the Netflix premiere. I actually did. I went all the way back to the first episode on Netflix and rewatched this episode. Hello, Eric. Thank you for joining us. We greatly appreciate it. I don't feel like this match was all that long. Like, I watched this match back and I'm like, it feels good. It feels like it was in the pocket. But then you watch it with the Chris Park freaking the fuck out the entire time. So here's the thing. While I agree, Bruce didn't make him feel any better. At no point does Bruce ever say anything to him to make him feel bad. Like, he doesn't let him off. But he also doesn't tell him off. Like, Abyss is like, how far are we over? Okay, we're a minute 45 over. All right. And they show him trying to get the guys back on track. And he's like, come on, cut this. Let's get to this. You know, hurry up. Let's get here. All right, Bruce, here's the finish. We're getting to the finish. Chris does such a good job directing all of that traffic for the last 3 minutes, it seems like, of this match. And we get to the end. And Bruce is just sort of standing there. He's not happy. He's obviously not happy because the show went over. The match went over. People missed their times. And Chris Park comes up to him. Abyss comes up to him. He's like, I'm sorry. You know, I try, you know, I did my best. And Bruce looks at him and goes, it's fine. It is what it is. Like, we can't do anything about it now. You know, and he even says, like, he mumbles it, but he's like, you did what you could. The guys didn't do what they needed to do. And Abyss is like, okay. And he starts to walk away. And you can tell he's distraught with himself. Again, from everything we've seen, nothing was said by Bruce Pritchard that seemed out of line. Bruce seemingly doesn't go after him. Bruce seemingly doesn't blame him for anything. He's not letting him off the hook. But again, Chris,
I think just it's more the body language of, like, he, like, gives that body language of, like, he's standing by the desk with, like almost hovering over, like.
Well, yeah, you know? because unfortunately Chris didn't get his point across. I know, I
understand, but I understand also how Chris feels, because I'm thinking I'll be freaking out at that moment, and then all of a sudden looking up and seeing that face looking at you like this, that definitely doesn't help. I think also this made me think of Chris differently, because we're used to seeing him as Abyss in TNA. So you see him as somebody who has his mask on, who's very, like, mysterious and in such a way, and you see him as, like, this, like, bigger guy, and then all of a sudden, this situation in particular, he feels like such a small guy dealing with this. There's like, I'm sorry, I tried what I could, and we cut this and we did that, and then he looks over. I think it's I don't know if it's no, it was Regal that calmed him down.
William Regal. Oh yeah.
Regal's like, it's fine, don't worry about it. Like, it kind of like it happens, sort of thing. And Regal's the one that looked at him and calmed him down a little bit more. But I feel like in this situation, the body language is not helping, because he's like, he doesn't say anything to him, but he also looks mad at the same time that they went over their time. But I'm like, and he mentions this too, because it's something that I feel like a lot of fans speculated, to put it like that, as being on Netflix is Netflix.
This was really interesting. I love this line from Bruce.
Me too. He mentions, in other words, that just because it's on Netflix doesn't mean we can go over the time. We still have, like, a certain sort of time limit to it. So we still have to abide by, like, the ads that we have and the time frame for the matches and everything. So it goes, like, in other words, he's telling us, just because we're on Netflix doesn't mean we can end it whenever we want. It has to have, like, a certain time frame to it. And I like that he explained that, because when this started happening, this guy advertised stuff like the Netflix premiere, a lot of fans speculated, oh, it's Netflix, they can basically make it go 3 hours or 3.5 hours. They can make it like 2:45 and things like that. They can basically manipulate the time and they don't have to cut it, basically, because it's on Netflix. And then he's like, no, we do have to have, like, a certain amount of time for everything, as you usually would do, even on Netflix. So I think it was interesting seeing that part of it, because a lot of fans always thought of, like, they got all the time in the world because it's on Netflix and it's not cable and they don't have to cut them off or anything like that. And it's interesting to know that they actually have a time frame.
Yeah, I think more to it is, I think WWE is imposing their own restrictions on it. Netflix is selling ads based on how long WWE tells them their show's going to be.
Mhm.
And so that's why, and I believe it's Ed Koskey again. I don't remember who it was. It's Jabroni Office Guy that I hated every time he's talked, number 4, where he was like, you know, rule 1, hit your times. Rule 2, hit your times. I'm like, fuck you, douchebag. Like, just screw you. Like, it would have been one, like, if it's Bruce saying it, fine. If it's Michael Hayes saying it, fine. Bobby Roode or like any of the producers, fine. But it's Joe Blow, who's like pure office executive, never been in the ring, never trained, has no clue what it goes into. And like that's why I say Bruce can say something like that. Because of it, like Bruce at least, well, he's not an in-ring talent as in like he's not a wrestler. But he's been so ingrained in this business in every facet of it. He's been a manager. He was, you know, a talk show host. Rule 3, when in doubt, refer back to rules number 1 and 2. Yeah. And by the way, if you ever want to know how badly this can affect the show, watch the original All In. If you want to know how much rules number 1 and 2 affect the show, watch All In. And then remember that Marty Scurll and Kazuchika Okada went 20 minutes over their time, and that Rey Mysterio Bandito match got cut to 6 minutes in the main event because they had a hard out on pay-per-view that they couldn't miss. Like, WWE is lucky they're on Netflix where they don't have a hard out. Like, yes, they can. Bruce is right and Bruce is wrong. They can go as long as they need to. But at the same time, they make deals with Netflix, and I guarantee you, it costs WWE money every time they go over whatever they tell Netflix. That's what I bet. That's what I bet the deal is. I bet the deal is that they can go as long as they want, but they tell Netflix this is how long we're going. Netflix sells ads for that amount of time, and then whatever they go over, WWE pays back. That's what I would imagine happens. But this is great. This first episode ends here with you have Taker giving Rhea some accomplishment, some props. Stephanie and Punk have a nice little moment here. And we're done. We're out. Episode 1 is done. All right, episode 2. I like to call this make Jey Uso feel like a douchebag the entire hour that you have.
Dang.
At no point during this episode do I feel like they did anything to make Jey Uso feel like he was a big deal. The beginning of this episode is Jey Uso in a car going to a WWE show and not being recognized as WWE talent. Mark fucking Henry had to confirm that he's a talent to get him on the lot.
And it's funny because you can tell as Jay's driving, and then the camera person for Netflix is next to him, and then it looks like the person shows their tag,
Media
it says
match.
media on it, and they're like, "Oh, I can let you in because you're media, but I can't do anything about him because he doesn't have any credentials." And he's like, "Oh, I'm looking for Mark Henry." He's like, "Well, he's actually the one behind me." He's like, "Can he like basically like confirm that you're you?" And,
and by the way, the list of names that dumbass security guard had: Mark Henry. I believe the next one was like Tully Blanchard.
I was like, those names are weird because I'm like, Mark Henry wasn't.
Oh, wait, the third one's even better. Steve Levy, who works for fucking ESPN. He's media from ESPN.
I was thinking though, it was like, when did Mark Henry go back to WWE to begin with, though?
He didn't. That's the funny thing. I don't know how far back this goes.
That I was thinking, who was the one that confirmed who Jay was? Because I was thinking, wait, is it Mark Henry at AEW around this time frame, or maybe out of it?
Yes,
I don't know.
Yes and no. My guess is this is Mark Henry just showing up at a show. I'm guessing this show was intact. They don't tell us what show this is or where it is. It's just like this little clip. I'm guessing this is a Texas show where Mark Henry's a special guest.
It just sounded funny.
I just thought it was hysterical how bad it made Jey Uso look. Because the episode's titled Push. And it's like, Jey Uso, who the hell are you?
Not only that, it just, I know that it's wrestling, so no, a lot of people in the venues would know who the wrestlers are. But you should have given them credentials that says talent on it that they can take with them wherever they go, because not everybody's gonna recognize them. To be
Oh, they do.
honest,
They have those credentials. Jay just didn't have his on him.
it was so weird.
So we get Cody finishing the story. We get the watch retold. And then we go to the WWE HQ. To the writers. This is our standard writers room at WWE HQ. This is probably like a Thursday or like a Wednesday. They're not on the road. This isn't on the venue. This is home writing. And they have some people on Zoom. Now, last night I said I was going to lambast WWE during this segment. I actually can't. Because I went back and watched all these segments. And guess what? WWE was smart enough to do one thing that I didn't think they were smart enough to do. They put a woman in every single one of these writing room shots. There's at least one in every one of them.
It's surprising because in the first 3 episodes, you don't see the woman talking though. If whoever's there, you don't hear her.
No, but when they do the wide shots of these rooms, there is the woman in the writer's room.
To be honest, I didn't even notice it because she doesn't even say anything.
No, but yeah, there's a long shot where you can see her, and you see her in episode 4. There's a few of them that pop up in episode 4. There's actually one that popped up in the premiere episode where she's telling CM Punk, "All right, this is what's going to happen," and they name her as a senior writer.
Mm-hmm. You know what? That writer's room is missing just a little bit of color though, because everybody looked.
What you mean? You mean Aaron? Aaron's not enough. Aaron Ward isn't enough for color in that writer's room. There's a black guy on the screen. It's fine. You got 2.
It's
not enough. It's not nearly enough. There's way too many old white dudes in that writer's room.
Definitely.
I will say though that I really did like. All right, we'll get to Joe's coming here. Honestly, Jimmy was supposed to be in the position Jay was in. I think he would have been better with the injuries and legal. No. It was made very clear here that Jay got over with the crowd, and that's what pivoted everything.
Yeah.
I think Jimmy probably would have been the choice by the company if they had a choice before the Bloodline started. But I think once the Bloodline started, it was all signs were apparent. It was always going to be Jay being the twin that's going to get it out. No, we get back to the writer's room, and Ed Koski is an interesting dude here. This is the only time we really see him. Like, I know I said might be Ed Koski. I know it's not Ed Koski, random jabroni asshole who's like rule number 1, number 2. He's a producer. He's not a writer. I like Ed Koski a lot. I like the way he presented his ideas. Even the really bad one, which he has in this episode where it's in the next episode where he's talking about the Women's Royal Rumble. And we'll get to that. But him pitching Chelsea Green winning the Rumble without having to eliminate anybody.
It is fun.
It's something I've always thought about. And I've always said would make such a cool Rumble if that ever happened. And I'm like, oh, that would be so great. And I love the way Triple H is just like, yeah, we'll come up with something. Like, he's like, no, we're never doing that, Dumbo.
No. I did like one aspect of this here because it's something that we all thought about, and it's great to have that kind of confirmation of it. Just the part about Kevin Owens beating up Cody by the bus. Because something that around that time there was no WWE cameras or WWE acknowledging the footage of it itself. This was footage from the fans that actually saw this happen, and it got spread out to social media like wildfire. And at that moment, they mentioned how it was Triple H's idea of this happening and not having any cameras around because they thought we're going to count on the fans to basically spread this around. And how correct he was in that aspect of it, because it really spread like wildfire here. And I like that part of it. And they're like, yeah, we're going to do this. I'm going to beat you up by your tour bus and just making sure that there's no cameras. And then the fans see us, so at least they talk about it, they post about it, and they were very correct in that aspect of it. And I like how that was something a little bit different, because I remember seeing that footage at first and thinking this is not real because Debbie hasn't said anything about it, and I had to wait for them to really acknowledge it for me to be like, okay, it is real. Then it's not. I
remember being on the air talking about the footage and not knowing if it's real or fake, because I'm with Mark, and I'm like, Mark, what's going on here? Like, and I'm playing the footage, and I'm like, Kevin Owens is beating down, like, it's the American whiskey van. Like, you can't miss Cody's fucking bus.
Yeah.
Like, it's obvious that it's Cody's bus, and you can see
Mhm.
Cody getting beat. Wow, what the hell's going on? Like, what is this?
Mhm.
I love them talking about potential Rumble winners, and everybody in the room says CM Punk.
Yep.
And Ed Koski's like, you know, I can't make the math work. I can't make it, but I'm just gonna sit here and say it. What about Jey Uso?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, Like, I love how that it's a dissenting opinion. Like, Michael Hayes goes with it. He's like, no, I think the Jey Uso thing makes sense. He's like, and Triple H looks at him and goes like, I see your point. I don't agree with you, but I see what you're talking about. The fans love him. And Triple H talks about having to have the pulse of the fans. And I'm like, boy, Triple H, that's a tone-deaf thing to talk about right now. Like, we want Mello trending on Twitter right now. Triple H is like, yeah, gotta have the pulse of the fans. You gotta listen to them because they tell you what's going on. And I'm like,
I actually have a part to add to that a little bit later on as well, from my notes. So
yeah, but I liked seeing people willing to throw out ideas that they knew might not get, that they might get shot down. It's also nice to see that CM Punk might have won that Rumble, and I kind of wish he would have. Like, nothing against Jay, I love Jay, but I think I would have preferred Punk, Rollins, Roman for the title at Mania in the triple threat. I think that would have been, because, like, I still want the winners of the Rumbles to main event WrestleMania. And I like how Bruce...
He doesn't say main event, he's a headliner.
Exactly. I was going to say, Bruce was very careful to use the word headline in this show.
I noticed that too. And it's very interesting because the women haven't main evented WrestleMania since WrestleMania 37. And this is the first time that the men's Rumble winner doesn't main event the show either. First time ever that none of the winners actually main event the show this year. And it's weird to think about because I think about it this way. The last women's main event we got was Sasha versus Bianca.
Oh, we're not going to talk about that because that shit started a shit storm on Twitter today. So we're not going to talk anything about that.
But it's just incredible to think about that. It doesn't feel that way, but it's been a few years since we had the last women's main eventing because of it, which adds up to the point that I want to say a little bit later too.
No, and I agree with you. I will, however, say that I think, and I know this doesn't come off great coming from a man. I think they got it right. I think Cena versus Cody and the triple threat with Rollins, Roman, and Punk, I think were the right choices for the main events. And I know people will say Cody versus John was a terrible match. I agree, but it was exactly what it needed to be, and it's main event worthy. As much better as that women's match was that opened the show, and that women's triple threat on night 2 was by far and away the best match of night 2. It's not a main event. It's not the main event of that show. Because even if it is the main event, the women's Rumble winners still didn't main event WrestleMania because that was Charlotte.
But this is the part that upsets me about it because that is their choice. Think about it that way. That if you really wanted Io and Bianca and Rhea to main event, you would have made it that important to main event. And they didn't do that either, which is the part that really I don't like about that aspect of it. I get it's not the Rumble winner, but I think about it this way. If you really want the woman to have that main event opportunity, you will push that storyline to be the main event and give it that opportunity to begin with. And they didn't do that with that story. And they haven't done it with the woman in quite a while, to be honest. Because I don't remember the last the woman main evented. Like, imagine the women's Rumble only main evented the year it debuted.
Well, I mean, think about it. The women main evented literally less than a month ago. They had Evolution.
Yeah, the shows, but not the pay-per-views.
No, they main evented Evolution, which is a premium live event.
Oh yeah, that's centered around them, so obviously they have to main event it.
But
no,
I'm honestly just trying to piss her off. I'm just trying to piss her off.
But I think about it this way: it's almost rare for the woman to main event a PLE at the moment, and it sucks to think about that way because I can't even remember the last time the woman main evented a pay-per-view. And like I said, what the Rumble itself, the woman only main evented the year the women's Rumble debuted, which is 2017 or 2018, along those lines. So imagine from 2017, 2018 to now 2025, and that was the only time they have main evented the show. And it goes along to a little a quote that Triple H says a little bit later that he talks about it's a little bit, I'll skip a little bit further up.
I can't wait for this quote, but go ahead. Go ahead.
He talks about the women in NXT, how they pick up things a little bit faster and eat, like, I don't want to say easier, but faster than the guys do. And he's like, I look at how much the girls kill it compared to the guys. The guys are just starting to like learn it now versus the girls have been learning it for a while. And I think about it this way: if actually after the chamber, they're like congratulating and saying, "You guys killed it. You guys did great." And it's like, if they have killed it and did so great, how come you don't give them those opportunities to main event to begin with? As you can say, you said it yourself. The women are doing great work, and even Stephanie says, "Oh, our women, like 40% of our audience is female. The women are doing so great. Their storylines are just as important as the men's." And I just thought, no, they're not. They're not as important. You're giving them a little bit less time than you usually would in some aspects of it. And that part is the one that's like, the way she said that, I was like, that doesn't sit right with me, because if their stories were just as important as the guys, you would have taken, usually, for example, those two night shows like SummerSlam, and have one night for the women to main event and one night for the guys to main event, and do a little bit more of a balance, because it's just as important as the guys, right? That's what you said, but you're not showing that though.
Triple H's quote, he's talking to Shane Helms, the Hurricane. And he's like, they're just so much smarter than we are. The girls are getting it so much quicker. Down at the PC, there's 5 girls for every guy who gets it. He's like, in 6 months, some of these girls are raring and ready to go. And he's like, the guys are just starting to understand what's going on. And honestly, we can attest to that. We were asked last night by Conrad, everything pro wrestling, name people at NXT who are ready to go up. I listed 5 to 7 women that I thought could go up right now and be ready to go, and NXT wouldn't lose a beat. But for the men, I had to strain to get to 3 or 4. And even those 3 are, and at least 3 of them are going to hurt NXT to lose. Like, it's going to hurt NXT to lose Obafemi. It's going to hurt NXT to lose Trick Williams. They need to go up, but it's going to hurt them to lose them. Wesley, to an extent, will hurt them to lose it.
Mm-hmm.
But they did a really good job talking up the women. But when push comes to shove, Triple H and Stephanie, you got to start doing a better job of actions speak louder than words.
Correct.
We get the fantastic story of the Saturday night's main event match between Cody and Kevin. Love this. It's so much fun. There's everything in here. They talk about about using the power driver. They specifically talk about making sure they do it after the show, as opposed to on the air, and the benefits and the benefits and the weaknesses about doing it after the show, doing it for the fans in the house to get the. And he's like, look, the show ends, we get the people talking about the show, and then we get people continue to talk about the show for the next day or so by having the attack happen after the show. I'm like, that's smart. Good job, people. They talk about the Winged Eagle belt, which made my heart sing, because I would replace that god-awful WWE championships with that Winged Eagle in a fucking second. That beautiful, beautiful title. It is the most beautiful title in all of professional wrestling. It is the perfect championship belt, the Winged Eagle. Also, everybody feels that way about the title that they had growing up, like the one that you saw growing up when you were a wrestling fan at the beginning. That's your favorite title. No, it's not the beautiful Bret Hart Championship. Fuck you, Bobby. Fuck you and fuck Canada. And fuck Bobby Roode just for the hell of it, too. Especially fuck Ethan Page. Goddamn Canadian bastard. No, the Winged Eagle is the belt of Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair, true American legends like Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair, who have never done anything controversial in their entire lives. Cough, cough, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. No, I love this. I love. Then we get this cool conversation between Jimmy, Jay, and Jay's son, where they're talking about the Samoan legacy, and they're talking about how all 5 of them are going to be in the Rumble.
Yeah.
And it took me way too long to realize that this was Jimmy talking and not Jay. Even though he says me and they light up Jimmy's picture, and I still didn't realize.
I did like this part of it. This is one of the points that I mentioned, that for anybody that's not a regular watcher, I like the fact that it explains to you the Samoan dynasty of like, and they could give you the family tree. For those of you that don't watch, it's like, here's the family. I like the fact that it was Jay's son, if I'm not mistaken. He's like, oh, basically, who do you think it's gonna win? He goes, who's in the match? He goes, me, Jimmy, Jacob, and everybody. And then he's like, oh, I'm going for Uncle Jacob. And he's like,
Uncle
really?
Jacob.
Uncle Jacob. He's like, well, that's the one I'm going for. And I love his son's reaction when he actually wins the Rumble at the end, and how he brings him to the ring to celebrate.
And that was a Triple H. Like, the one thing they didn't put in that they put in social media since then is they have footage of Triple H backstage saying, "Get Jay's attention. Go have him get his kid and bring him in the ring." Mm-hmm. Triple H had to tell the referee to tell Jay to go get his son. The other thing I like about this is you hear Jimmy say, I don't think it matters which of us win. If any of the Samoans win, people will be okay with it. And I'm like, sir, are you forgetting that Solo Sikoa was listed in this list of Samoans? Like, nobody's going to be okay if Solo won the Royal Rumble. Like, everybody would be fine if Jacob won.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody would be fine if Roman won. I don't think people would have been super excited if Jimmy. People would have been fine if Roman won. They wouldn't have been happy, but they would have been okay. Mm-hmm. If Jimmy won the Rumble, I don't think anybody would have. I think everyone would have been asked, what the fuck happened? I know, what the fuck just happened? How did he win? Because remember, people were like, what the fuck is this? Why did Jey Uso win the Royal Rumble?
Mm-hmm.
And again, here's part 2 of let's make Jey Uso look like an asshole. They talk about how Jey has no cardio. They talk constantly, multiple different things of Jey Uso not being able to have enough cardio to go. And how he blows himself up doing his intro, where he's eating with the crowd and he turns it back and they do it again. And it's like, they're constantly being like, is he worthy? Like, is he going to be okay if we strap this to him? Is he going to be all right? And I'm like, oh, God, like, you're really trying to make it so that you understand that, like, we fucked up. Jey Uso was never supposed to win the WWE Championship. I come out of this going, WWE feels like they made a mistake giving Jey Uso the Royal Rumble win in the WWE Championship. That's how I see what I watched on this program. I don't know about what you think, but that's how I saw. And again, episode 5 goes into this too.
Yeah, I was about to say, I know I haven't finished it, but I get where you're coming from. It just, to me, it wasn't a mistake. There's so many moments that we have, and not with just him, but just examples in general, that certain people are so popular with the crowd, and you got to take advantage when you can of that time frame, because you don't know how long it's going to be there for. They can turn on him tomorrow and then start booing him, and there goes the fire, then it happens. So at the same time, they should be glad that this happened to begin with, in the moment that he actually is very popular. It happened with like Joe Hendry, for example. It's like, you have so many opportunities to give him that world championship that at this point the fans kind of started turning on him, because it's just like, it's not gonna happen, is it? It makes you doubt yourself. And to me, you gotta strike while it's hot. It's like, if he's popular now, give it to him.
Mike Santana, it's anniversary.
Yeah, again.
No, I thought this was great. I like I said, I don't think that they think they made a mistake in the grand scheme of it. I think like they're trying to make sure that they irritate to the fan base, like, oops, we going with Jey Uso was right. Giving him the championship might not have been. Because they took the title off of him to give it to Gunther, and Gunther's going to lose it by the end of the year.
And that's another part. Like, for me, for example, Gunther for me is like one of those like sometimes I forget he's champion because it's almost like quiet and almost like in the background that it doesn't feel like he's champion. So it's like how is that how different that is compared to Jay? When at least with Jay I knew he was a champion because I saw him often. It's like you
Do you
saw
know
him.
who? Do you know who the number one contender for the title is at SummerSlam?
What do you mean, Punk?
Who?
Huh?
Okay, I just want to make sure. I wasn't sure if you knew because I was like,
Mm.
it took me a second. I had to look it up today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I had to look it up today to figure out who Gunther was facing this weekend. That's how much I think they failed with the second Gunther run. I forgot Gunther versus Punk is the SummerSlam main event.
I even have moments that after I was thinking of like Damian Priest and after he lost it, and then at one point I'm like, who did Damian lose it to? That's how lost I was at one point thinking of Gunther, and I was like, oh, it was Gunther, and then I was like, shoot, and then I keep forgetting that he's the champion sometimes. I don't even watch any about that one. Come on. I also like the fact that in here they when they're actually trying to decide for the winners, they're thinking about giving Cena the Rumble because it's his retirement, so they want him to have those those moments here, those like highlight moments before he ends his career, and they're thinking about giving the chamber to Punk here, and they like the way they're thinking about it, and then Jay changes their plans here, so I like that aspect of it, or how things can change in such an instant in their plans that they had because it's so different from what ended up being at the end there too. I also like when they talk about Punk's injury here, how Punk is like, this is basically something that happens so unexpectedly, especially in a run where there's so many people in the ring. I was not expecting to get injured the way I did, and for take the time that it took me to come back. And even now in this Rumble in 2025, being hesitant of like thinking if it's gonna happen again, if it's gonna end up ruining my plans again of what is coming up in the future. So I like seeing his mindset behind the injury, and it's kind of similar-ish to what Charlotte was saying in episode 3 about her injury as well.
Yeah, we get to Rumble Day, the ladder match. Oh, good God. Oh, I was so happy they gave us footage on this and talking on this.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing everybody's reactions backstage to everything that's going on in this match. Most importantly, Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes after the match. Cody's like a bloody mess. Kevin's a bloody mess. And they're checking on each other to see about each other's injuries.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kevin makes a comment, I need to go call my mom. I need to go call my wife and tell them I'm okay.
Yeah.
They have the IShowSpeed stuff. Oh, I thought this was great. I love this.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
The only thing I'll say now is, having looked back at this and watched it again, that's fine. You're a Bret Hart fan. We don't care about your opinion. I wish that Tozawa would have been number 7 because Speed was wearing the number 7 jersey that Logan Paul gave him. And I just think it would have been fun because they did it in spot 8. And I'm like, you could have done it at 7 just to make it funnier that Speed's wearing a 7 jersey.
I like how they set this up of Triple H telling Stephanie, this is how you're gonna go and do it, and then she talks
and then
to
she
him.
never does it.
No,
you notice she talks
talk
to him in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
but she doesn't talk to him like when they're trying to get him in the Rumble, like Triple H tells her to do it. She just doesn't. She just stands there.
But I like the fact that he's giving her the direction of like, yeah, we're gonna have him join in. You're gonna say this to him, and then he comes out. And I like how they talk about like sometimes we want the celebrity kind of features to come about the way it happens. And like when they look at it later, look like he's still streaming, and they show him like as he's coming out of the Rumble, he's still streaming. The spot with Braun and how he came out and Logan like kind of almost making fun of him for the way he's like walk it out, you'll be fine, walk it out, it's fine.
No, did you hear the second part of that? Walk it off, you'll be fine. Go get some Prime.
Yes, get some Prime.
Fuck you. Go get some Prime. Fucking douchebag. Jay wins the Rumble. It's great. Cena has the press conference where he goes, look, I've earned this. I'm taking a spot in the Elimination Chamber. No ifs, no ands, no buts about it. Loved it. This was great. I love all of this. It's such a good second episode. And again, it's entirely focused on the men. It's focused on Rumble from the men's side. And then we get the best episode of the 3.
Yes.
We get the episode focused on the women. And my God, was this episode good. Bianca talking about her character and how Montez convinced her to keep the braid that was supposed to be a one-night thing, and now it's an every night thing. Stephanie and Triple H talking about how the audience is 40% female and how important it is that women are becoming a large part of the wrestling fan base, and how we need to continue to make sure that we cater to and support the women, which we're not doing. So, make it better, Triple H. We also get the star of this episode, Chelsea Green. The absolute fucking star of this episode. She talks about starting in professional. By the way, also, all the gimmicks that Chelsea Green has gone under.
Laurel Van Ness and Reclusa and Chelsea Green now.
Do you remember what brand Reclusa was from?
Yeah, Lucha Underground.
Do you remember who was in the group with her?
Was it Io or like?
There's three. There's three women in the group. It was Chelsea Green, it was Io Sky, and there's one more.
Can't remember.
I believe it's Kairi Sane. Hello, Millie. Hello. Yes, she was the hot mess, but that was a takeoff of the Laurel Van Ness character.
Oh, I'm surprised she didn't say the name of, when she was that trainer in the Brian and Bree storyline.
Oh yeah,
she missed that name. I just thought about that. It would have been fun if she did say like that was her name at one point. I did like her here. She talks about her injuries when she's like, "Oh, when I debuted in NXT, I broke my arm, and then I came back, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm gonna be unstoppable now, kind of thing." And then I go again, do another debut, and break my arm again, and then I get released. And I like the fact she goes, I wanted my job back, so I texted Triple H. He's like, our future's in his hands. And I just texted him, I wanted my job back, and I got my job back. And I like that aspect of it. She gives us a little bit of a tour about her gear. She says she doesn't wear the same gear twice. Gives us a price range of all her gear so far. And then she mentions that when she does win the championship, she wants to wear a particular gear, and it's the one that she wore at Saturday night's main event with her face all over it, which is pretty funny to see her like showing it off to everybody before it actually happens. But I like her. I think that one thing that I appreciate more about Chelsea is her mindset going into wrestling, because she even says it here that she's like, I'm here for the entertainment. He's like, if you want somebody to be in the trash can and do this, I'll be that person. I don't care. Because she's like, even if I lose, I'm still getting booked. That means I'm still on TV and I'm getting my moments here and there. So even if I lose, I'm on TV. And that's what's important to me, the fact that I can be on TV. She's like, but at the same time, I do want those championship moments. It's like, am I ever going to get one of those? And seeing the doubt, and also seeing her mindset, because she says, oh, I'm a big person that plans everything, but in wrestling you really can't plan things. You have to wait for those spots and kind of see what happens. And it was such an insight into her mind, and I love seeing that aspect of it. Millie, I'll be honest, I didn't realize you was live with this. I seen the clip of Chelsea but I need to watch the actual episodes. Definitely do. We're talking about the third one now, which is focused on the women. Chelsea's a big part of it here. But yeah, she says, oh, one thing is like, nobody ever tells you when you're not booked. If you don't hear anything, you basically just assume that you're not booked. And she talks about Survivor Series for the War Games, that it was in her hometown, so she kind of was hoping she would get a match. And she bought tickets for her friends and family, and the closer it got to the day, the more she realized she was not part of the show. And she had to like break it down to them at the end that she was not a part of the show to begin with. So she was bummed about that aspect of it. But yeah, they talk about the championships here and how the fans have demanded more opportunities for the women, and that's why they introduced the US and Intercontinental titles for the women here. And
by the way, no mention of the women's IC title in this entire episode.
not which I thought it was rare at the same time, but I'm guessing because of the way that I know they were almost around the same time. But I like the fact that we got the spotlight on her. But I think it would have been cool to get that kind of similar spotlight on Lyra being the first one too. But I like when they talk about like how the fans wanted the women to get more opportunities, and that's what we ended up with the championship here. And I like that part of it. And my favorite part of the way Triple H talks about Chelsea is he says, you can have her do anything and she'll do it. So like, you basically can picture. And she even says, she's like, I'm not the one to complain. If creative wants me to do whatever, I would do it. And she's like, I'm usually not the one to like really speak up. And I like this aspect of it as well, because she talks about they wanted her finish of the Saturday Night's Main Event show for her to hit a leg drop for the finish. And she's like, that's not even my finish. And then Shay Holmes is like, yeah, like the Hogan, that leg drop, that's what we want you to do. But then she's like, I usually don't fight for stuff like this, but this is the first time I win a championship, a singles championship in WWE. It's my moment. I wanted to be with my finisher, not somebody else's. And the way she kept fighting for it, just to be able to get that finish. And I'm glad she got it at the end, because a leg drop would have been kind of like meh at the end compared to her finisher for her to get that victory.
Yeah, I mean, Joe's right here. Chelsea plays her part perfectly and deserves her flowers. I adore Chelsea Green in all of it. I loved how they went through the 2 broken arms. By the way, was that Cora Jade in the first broken arm match? Was that Cora Jade with the skateboarder gimmick that she was wrestling against?
I don't remember. I had to look back at it. Probably then.
I think so. In 2018, in 2019, and then 2020, she breaks it wrestling Charlotte when she comes back. Millie's older brother, who's an absolute hater of wrestling, has watched it, loved it. Yeah, like I said, I've watched all 5. They're great. It's a really fun and interesting look. Then we move on from, we get pretty much almost nothing now of Chelsea. Like, we get bips and pops of her in and out now. But the rest of this episode is mostly devoted to the Women's Elimination Chamber, the Women's Royal Rumble, and Charlotte Flair. Because we need more Charlotte Flair in everything, apparently. Yeah. So Charlotte. Now let's get this straight. Charlotte is the best of the 4 horsemen. Let's just clearly delineate this. She is the best of the 4 horsemen.
Okay. We're going with that for now.
But we're going to absolutely go with
no.
it.
Okay, go.
It's a fact. There's no opinion involved.
Anyway, keep
it's
going
just
with your point.
fact.
I want to know the end of your point first.
I loved watching her rehabbing from the injury and her almost complaining. It's not a debate. It's just pure hard facts.
It is a debate, but anyway, keep going.
No, it's not a debate.
No, I want to know your point.
So we talk about like her recovery, and I love how this is a propaganda piece that everybody loves Charlotte. And Ashton said to me, she's like, oh, there's a Fightful article coming out about things that might have been staged in the documentary. And I go, oh, you mean when the entire women's locker room comes out and cheers for Charlotte Flair after she wins the Women's Rumble? She's like, no, it's probably not that. That was really great. I really enjoyed that moment. I'm like, yes.
No, that was not my exact response, though. You said, oh, I bet you it's a Charlotte fan. I said, I haven't seen anybody say that could be staged, but we'll see.
Okay.
And then I sent you the article.
Yeah, and then I was right. Yeah. Because there's no way, you know what's propaganda? Me, propaganda? No. This is propaganda. Like, I love Charlotte Flair. I think Charlotte Flair is great. But I know for a fact, not every woman in that locker room was excited to see her come back. Awkward. Wait till you get to episode 4 and 5 where they talk about the Tiffany Stratton match.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that part.
Because if you don't think this is propaganda, wait till you get to the episode 5. Because the propaganda machine goes into high gear for that one. Because at one point, Charlotte says, and I quote, I hope this launches Tiffany into the stratosphere that she wants to be in. Because at one point recently, a long time ago, somebody did that for me. Not Nikki Bella did that for me. Somebody did that for me. And they ask her, where do you go from here? And her first episode is, get back on the mountaintop. And I'm just like, fucking Charlotte. Like, You're so good, and you're such a delusional bitch all at the same time.
Oh my god.
Like, she is Ric Flair's daughter. Like, all she can see is, I'm the best thing for women's professional wrestling. And
don't get me wrong. I love Charlotte, but this is the aspect of what I mean, that why she's not my number one in the horsewoman.
No, she's the best. She might be a delusional psychopath, but she's the best.
And this is why she's not my number one. Because I love Charlotte. I love the positivity that she has in the way she has come back recently with Alexa, for example. But I feel like people like Becky and even Bailey, for example, especially Bailey, are more selfless in that aspect of it than Charlotte has been.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why they're at the top for me. Because I wonder how the reaction was going to be about her return. I do like her talking about her injury and how it happened and how it affected her mentally. And you see something similar with Punk as well. She talks about, like, for me, it's everything's my athleticism. And it's like, I really thought with my injury, it was going to be taken away and that was going to be done. I didn't know if I was going to come back or not. So it's something that it took a lot for me to come back the way I did. So seeing her mindset about it, I really like that aspect of it.
Hello, Tony. Hello, Get the Tables viewers. Thank you for joining us after watching All Elite Wrestling Dynamite. Tell us what you guys thought of the AEW Dynamite show. More importantly, tell us if you've seen it. Talk to us about the first 3 episodes of WWE Unreal. We are right now in episode 3. We're talking about right now the Queen, Charlotte Flair, and the propaganda piece that this was to promote Charlotte Flair as a babyface, because Lord knows she's not. And I was explaining to everybody that it's a fact that Charlotte is the greatest of the 4 horsewomen. So, 14 world championships, you can't argue with success. We then get back into the Elimination Chamber. We're done with Royal Rumble. We've done all that. Mm-hmm. And I liked all the footage from the Royal Rumble, and I liked remembering how great the 2025 Women's Rumble is. But I want to talk a lot about what they talked about, which was getting back in the writer's room and talking about Naomi, Bianca, and Jade. Because this was really good and really cool. Mm-hmm. And I loved how much Michael loves the idea. Yes, I mean, obviously, Becky has very little meaning to her.
No, because, hey. Anyway, keep going.
She's Becky, and she's awful. I loved hearing Michael talk about this and being like, wrestling fans love a whodunit. Because, like, I know it's simple, and I want to say, hey, how dare you? But I also want to say, he's fucking right. Like, give wrestling fans a mystery, and we become fucking detectives. And we see everything except what's right in front of our faces. Which part was rude or unacceptable? I don't know of which you speak. I've said a lot of things that are both rude and or unacceptable in the last 20 minutes. So, no, she's literally not. She's literally on the.
Yes, she is. Anyway, keep going.
She is the 4th of the 4 horsewomen, and she'd be further down the list if I could include the Ronda Rousey group.
Anyway.
No, I loved how they kept showing footage of they were having Bianca talk and being like, Jade got hurt, real life things come in. And they're intersplicing it with these videos of Naomi being part of the group. And every time they bring up, we're gonna find who did this to Jade, Naomi gets the squirreliest fucking look on her face. And I'm reminded that I kept saying from the day one that fucking Naomi did this shit. And I was but no, I love this. And then seeing Triple H take Jade aside, she's about to go to the ring. She's about to make her big return. And he's like, slow it down. Take the moments. Make everything look good. Make everything look big. Make everything look important. And it reminded me of something else that somebody else said that Triple H had said to them. And it was, slow it down. Oh, it was Stephen Amell. He had talked to Triple H before he went out for his WrestleMania match that he had, and he was told, slow it down. And when you think you're going too slow, cut it in half. And when you still think you can't go any slower, slow it down one more gear. And he's like, that's your sweet spot. And I'm like, damn. Like, but then you rewatch Jade doing the attack with the mindset of Triple H and looking for how slow she's working to make everything look good. And that attack looks so great. It's the best thing Jade's done in this company. I'd say her entire wrestling run, but I didn't watch any of her AEW run to know. And again, I loved watching how impressed everybody was with Bianca. Yeah. Because again, and the best part is Montez Ford on the headset with Paul Heyman during this. And he's talking to Paul about how hard she's worked for everything that she's got in this match and how much she's worked on her gear. And I was like, yeah, we just fucking watched 5 minutes of her working on her gear and her jumping at the idea that the scissors touched her skin. Like, we just watched this, Montez. We know what's going on.
I love this part of it here too with the whole Jade, Naomi, and Bianca storyline, how basically they just explain it to us, but also seeing the camera work and the direction they put into this from, like you said, from Triple H explaining to Jade, do it this way and be slow and take the moment in. And you can hear Triple H going, oh, I want to see Naomi crawling. Oh, I want to see the door part now. I want to go back to Bianca. And Bianca's doing great, point at her. And it's like the way they give the direction in such a way to make sure that we see every aspect of it. And it's like, okay, when Jade comes out, Jade, her music. And then he's like, put it on Jade and then switch it off to Naomi and then switch it off to Bianca. And switching it off at those right moments so we can get the whole picture from everything. And I love that aspect of like pinpointing where to go and like telling the referees what to do as well. And that was so interesting for me. I like also the background here about Bianca. She talks about how long she's been wrestling, how her Montez met and the whole storyline with Jay, how it started as a tag team and then she got injured. They put Naomi in here, but they also mentioned how basically they don't have footage of the attack, but they're trying to pinpoint it on Liv and Raquel. But they know they didn't do it, so they're trying to find ways to make sure that it points out to Naomi in the end. But I feel like that was great, like them going back to the chamber and like having the little details about it here and there. I feel like that was really great. And the timing of everything, because one of the things like they mentioned, timing is everything in this business of like making sure you point out the right spots so everybody can see everything here. And I know that you wanted to mention it too. I like the fact that even before the match, Raquel's praying with the girls backstage. You see Alexa, Bailey, Roxanne, Bianca, and Liv. They're all praying here before the match even begins. It's like, oh, make sure that everybody's in there. There's no botches and everybody enjoys themselves in the match. And I like how unified they were in here as a group of with the match in itself. And I love that part of it, having kind of like that sisterhood here, because even though you're in a way kind of fighting with each other for spots, but at the same time you have to think about like you're a collective unit, that if it wasn't for us, you guys being the way you are on screen, the fans wouldn't be watching it either. And this is what I mentioned about Stephanie talking about like how the women's matches are just as important as the guys. And he mentions about the NXT girls picking it up better than the guys did. And he gives props to Bianca for the way she was crying afterwards here and congratulating her on the match too. But again, overall, I love this. To me, it was also my favorite episode, especially the parts of the chamber and the whole Jade, Naomi, and Bianca storyline, but also seeing the part about Chelsea here too. Because Chelsea's one of the people like I have enjoyed for quite a while. To me, from her TNA days, and even from the indies beforehand, because I remember her teaming up with Britt before that happened. Her being in TNA, for example, I remember watching her around that time too. And I didn't watch her until Underground, but obviously watching her in NXT and out in the main roster too. So been watching Chelsea for quite a while just to see her where she is at now and getting that championship and that victory and having her like her precious moment with the championship. I feel like that was really well done.
Yeah, and the other thing I'll say about this is I also love the fact that Liv's getting ready to go out, and they're all getting ready to go out, and Liv's walking by. She's like, "All right, girls, have a good time," and she slaps Bailey right on the rear, and Bailey's in mid stretch, and she almost falls down because she didn't see it coming. This was such a great show. It was such a great episode. Astrid, can we get confirmation? Are we doing episodes 4 and 5 tomorrow night?
Okay, that's fine.
All right, Bobby, if you're still here, what time is Ring Respect Radio tomorrow?
My guess is 9. What's your guess?
9, I think, too.
But no, overall, I've been enjoying it. I was watching a lot while I was working today, so it kept me company of like listening to this as well as I was taking the notes. And I started episode 4, but I still have obviously 4 to 5 to go. But overall, yeah, my favorite episode has been 3 so far. The focus on the woman has been great. I feel like the other one part that I really enjoyed the most has been everything with Punk, and from the return to like his relationship with Triple H and how everything is backstage for him now after the injury. I feel like that was very, very well done and very important to highlight.
As a preacher's kid, I'm notorious for when I actively went to church and when they asked for prayer requests, oh yeah, absolutely. We go live at 9, but we're done at 10 if you want to go. We're going to go before because I don't think I can keep Astrid up that late.
No.
So remember, episode 4 will be heel turn, which is going to chronicle the John Cena heel turn in the men's elimination chamber. Episode 5 is all WrestleMania all the time. It is the 2 nights of WrestleMania. Little bits leading up to it. It's great stuff. To steal a quote from a terrible, terrible person, it's such good shit. But speaking of good shit, Ashton, tell the people where they can find you.
I mean, what you said, you can find us tomorrow doing episode 4 and 5, but you can usually find us on Tuesdays on Taking Over as we talk about NXT with this one right here. For me, you can find me Twitter, Blue Skies, Astrid Pizarro, and my Instagram and Threads is AstridPizarro20. If you're here, you're most likely on my YouTube channel, so if you hit the like button and then subscribe, hit the bell to be notified when I upload or go live as well. And you can see us every now and then. Usually on Fridays, we do have uploads of Killer Cuts. The most recent one is talking about I Know What You Did Last Summer. We'll have another one hopefully soon talking about the movie Until Dawn. We haven't recorded it yet, so hopefully sometime next week. Perhaps if the Organo agrees. But yeah, other than that, Are you guys gonna be doing that new Dave Franco movie? I haven't seen it yet, so I have to wait to see.
Oh, okay, because I saw the press for it, and I know they were talking with somebody about horror movies, so I figured it's a horror movie.
I definitely want to talk about the Halloween Horror Nights YS6 reveal. That it's going to be Halloween Horror Nights now too, so that's going to be really fun.
You can find me in all the wonderful places down here. You can find me every Tuesday with Astrid. You can find me with Bobby every Monday as we have episodes of The War Room. You can find me with Marvel Talk, as we'll be back next Wednesday night talking about all things Wakanda, Eyes of Wakanda, as we get ready to move into the next phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Me, Andre, and of course, the host of Marvel Talk, the Empress of all our local establishment, Peggy. And of course, you can find our local establishment at all the places that we've had down here throughout the show. Thank you all for joining us. Special thanks to Get the Tables for rating to us. We greatly appreciate it. I am going to go ahead and try to continue spreading the love with a raid. So let me load up the back end of the Twitch while I buy for time.
Let's see who's live, and then we'll pick somebody from there.
Well, I'm probably just going to raid Mike the Ref because we never get to raid Mike the Ref because I always go on after him.
That's true. That's true.
And we have a nice amount of viewers tonight, so we can send a lot of people over to Mike the Ref, who was watching AEW too. So you can talk to him about that while he does his WWE 2K25 stuff. So always good. And he's got HBC Bad Guys and Zodiac and all kinds of good people on as So we're gonna go ahead and start that raid with the outro. We'll see you tomorrow night, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Bye.
I am in misery.